Well, hello and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you are watching, and welcome to Takeover TV Australia. This is the footy wrap where we get together a bunch of heads and we talk about the big week that it has been in footy, what's going on, or has been going on, and hopefully what will be going on. My name is Sergio Paradise, and I'm joined tonight by, firstly, multimedia megastar and all-round great Saints man, Mark Finey Fine.
I'm contacting you from the future.
You
As
look
you
at
see, this is what's happened with COVID-19. We all now live in, unfortunately, now it's not far in the future. It's only 4 days away. We've all been forced to live in storage containers, and as Jared Waitley said, it's a dystopian reality.
It is. It's not only a dystopian reality you're sitting in front of, Finey. It looks a bit like, I don't know if you've been to the shopping mall at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, but it's got a fair amount of that going on in the background. It's good to say.
Yeah.
Now,
Basically, it's a Skype background, and you took the other good one.
Now, joining us, of course, is a man who's with us nearly every week, the legend from Collingwood Football Club, the Incredible Hulk, the great man, Rene Kink.
Great, guys, to be here, and let's get past that doom and gloom because we do live in it every day at the moment. I'm excited. Football's happening, and there's plenty of football going forward, which is going to be really interesting leading into the finals in a couple of weeks' time.
That's very true. Now,
Let's go for it.
Before we kick off on what's been going on,
Just on Rene,
yeah,
I've got to say he has not aged.
I'm going right for 63. I know I look 23, but that's all right, Finey.
I'm saying you haven't aged since last episode.
You see, when people look at the three of us on here, they're thinking, gee, where's that fourth Hemsworth brother? Now, Finey, I could tell when we crossed you, just by the look in your eye, you got something you need to get off your chest. Would that be correct?
I do. I reckon the biggest story in football this year is not 3:30 a.m. kebabs. It's not. Look, I think the football-loving public has accepted this football season. We've embraced it. So we're all in, correct? It's a real season.
Yep. I think it's a fair comment.
So I reckon the biggest story this year is the most unprofessional, embarrassing handling of one of the main rules of our game. And I'll tell you, if anybody overseas understood AFL football or Aussie rules, we would be the laughing stock of any major sport in the world. What they have done with holding the ball is so embarrassing. We had a situation, 3 weeks in, Clarko complains there's not enough holding the balls. Within a week, they are paying every impossible holding the ball when players have no opportunity. Now, at that point, there was a chance to improve the rule, but they did not handle it correctly, and all they did was encourage NRL dry rooting and that ridiculous punching of a ball like it's a sort of stationary power ball, one of those balls you punch.
Speed balls.
Speed balls, yeah. It's like you got one, bang, bang, bang. Now, some weeks later, not only has that been forgotten, the correction is ridiculous. Yeah. You got more... In the Hawthorn St Kilda game, I've never heard a player say this before. Liam Shield complained, but not about the decision he didn't receive. He said, player holding the ball to them as well as us.
Mm. When do you ever see a player or hear a player encouraging an umpire to pay a free kick, either against him, his teammate, or an opposition player?
Pay it to anybody, mate. It has become ridiculous, and this is so poor for a billion-dollar business. Who's making the decisions? Who's massaging them? Who's enforcing them? It's absolute. And if they say that there's been no change in they admitted one after Clarko, and everything that's happened since then, to the point we've got to now, is Bush League amateur rubbish.
Couldn't agree more. Even before we came on air tonight, I watched a bit of the start of the Brisbane Lions Gold Coast Suns match, and at one stage in the first quarter, a Gold Coast player took possession of the ball, He was tackled and swung around 360 degrees, and then into the second rotation, the ball popped out, landed in the arms of one of his teammates, who he himself got tackled, was swung nearly 720 degrees. That ball bounced out, play on. And all the players, even the Gold Coast players, stopped. They both thought they'd been pinged, and the Brisbane players have just, Lachie Neale, smart enough to just sweep it away. And I was thinking, what is going on? And in answer to your question, Finey, I mean, who's making these decisions? Is it Steve Hocking? And his information and the way he's communicating it to his umpiring board or department and the umpires, and then to the general public, is just, it's either a closed shop or it's just non-existent. I have no idea what's going on. And if people who watch the game, you know.
Yeah, from a past player that played the game, I find it very frustrating, firstly, as we all do, and that's what we're talking about, to watch the game and watch this umpiring that's going on. But for some reason, I just think the umpiring has changed so much, and getting back to what you're saying about, you know, who's got their thumb on the print of the game to see what is happening with our game in terms of not paying or paying free kicks where they should be. I'm just finding it very frustrating. And if you are an overseas person watching our game and seeing what's going on with our game, particularly the kicking for goal around the corner, you have to kick it now, certainly on a boomerang. Don't be looking at a straight goal type kick unless you really have to. And of course, with these interpretation of these rules, holding the ball, holding the man, and so on, it's terribly frustrating and creating something a little bit unique that should be happening. And I find it very, very awful.
Well, go on, Finey.
I was just saying that Gil McLachlan gets the Julie Hughes Award for Cruise Director of the Year. He has put people in hubs. He's organised, you know, what cabin you're in, what time you're sitting at the captain's table. He's very good at that, and he should be commended for organising an AFL season. But he has completely taken his eye off the ball.
Yeah, forgotten about the game.
The actual ball.
Ironically, we could say he's dropped the ball, Finey.
Yeah, and not been penalised under the new you can never be penalised for holding the ball anymore. You know, it's crazy.
Now, how would you like?
It makes bad football, doesn't it?
It does. It makes it very difficult to watch. And as you said, trying to explain it to somebody from overseas, if you've ever, I reckon we all have at some stages sat with an American friend in front of a TV and tried to explain what's going on. And now even we're nonplussed in how we would even go about that these days. I don't know how you would even begin to explain.
I took two lads from London to the footy many years ago, Richmond St Kilda. They spent the first quarter in hysterics going, "It's those blokes in Dayglow running out in the field, mate. What's going on?" They couldn't believe there were runners running on.
Yeah.
And then Two Smiles, called Two Smiles because he had a big scar on his face, came back at quarter time with about 14 pies. And I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, mate, it's a bloody lark. It's an honour system. You just go there and you don't have to bloody go to the counter." I said, "What are you going to do with them?" He goes, "I'm not going to eat them." And he just dropped them. But he had to steal them.
He just took them out of the pie warmer and kept going.
Yeah. He goes, "It's an honour system. I've never seen nothing like it." He goes, "If that was in England, mate, they'd have nothing by game start."
Yeah, and I think one of the greatest shames of our game as it's become is the lack of goal kicking, which that's what's always made our game great, to see that. And interstate people over the years, and of course overseas people, just would have loved and been able to understand what and how this happened. And of course over the years, I think there's some stats have just come out that each club is kicking something like 10 goals a game average, less per game over the last 2 or 3 years. That's how it's happened. I'm not sure of the exact stat, but that's how it's heading. That sort of numbers.
I'll tell you one stat that's guaranteed. The winner of this year's Coleman medal will win with a total that has not been kicked by a living person. I guarantee.
That's right. That's one of the big stats.
It'll be a stat that's normally just that of a good season from a half-forward flanker. It's certainly not your leading goal kicker or your full forward.
Yeah.
And people are going, the games are shorter. First of all, they played 18-game seasons, so this is 17. Bob Pratt kicked 150 in an 18-game season. And they used to play on mud heaps and, with
Dirt.
With a football made out of a goat's head. I mean, really. And the boots were the same ones they'd go down the mines with, and they'd just put, a couple of paper clips in them to stop from sliding over.
Just about.
Back in your day, Rene, of course.
The old wooden studs, as we've spoken about. Yeah, those are the days. But look, as we've all agreed tonight, the game's in a shocking state from all those areas that we've spoken about. And geez, they've got to have a big think tank over the summer to sort this out.
And the problem is, people don't question it when stupid rules are brought in. Oh yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. Now I was on record, and I'm pretty sure I was the only person who said this rule about letting a player run free after a behind is going to do exactly the opposite of what they want. They thought it would speed the game up. You know what it does? It lets them kick down the line 35 metres further down the line to the deadest part of a football ground, sort of on the wing, out of bounds. That's where they kick every single time. At least when they kick from the goal square, there was a chance for an opposition mark, just out of range or whatever. But now the ball just gets thumped 100 metres from goal and then knocked out of bounds every time.
Yeah, the old way, they had to at least, the fullback had to hit a target. And as you say, there was every chance that there will be a turnover or a one-on-one contest. Now, it's simple. It's very easy for the it's not necessarily even the fullback these days. It's whoever takes the kick in is just to get it out of jail as quickly as they can.
That's right, but as you said earlier, Finey, the ball, they get it on the halfback flank from a kick out somewhere there, then they go back around the other way, and time again we're seeing the ball go down the lines so close to the boundary lines, time and time again, going out, and then they'll swing it back around the other side, then again it's down the boundary line again. I don't understand that. I really don't.
I know it's not timely, but for anybody that saw the first quarter of Gold Coast Brisbane, why did Gold Coast play the entire quarter kicking the ball to the boundary umpire? They can't make the 8. You're not making the 8. You're not saving any games here. You're not proving anything by a stalemate. You were 6 goals down anyhow. Take the game on. Do some different things. I hardly think instructing your players to kick the ball to the boundary line every single kick is going to do you much good. And in the end, they played one of the worst quarters of football you've ever seen.
I know you touched on last week in the footy wrap about the 2 lads from Richmond who got into strife, but just looking at a bigger picture, how would you like to be at that AFL Hub at the minute with 400 people there, including families and babysitters and relatives and AFL officials? Is that a matter of time before something blows up there, or is that just going to go very nicely?
Yeah,
or is this schoolies for adults? Sponsored by the AFL.
This is a very sort of indulgent version of Schindler's List. Dare I say it, being of the Jewish faith, that was a more serious saving of souls, but it seems as though, Gill has tried to get as many people as he can out of Victoria, but was he offering his gold ring at the terminal there, at Tullamarine? One more.
He played by Liam Neeson in the film. There's no question of that. Yeah. Liam Neeson with a mullet wig. Yeah.
And please let this poor suffering immigrant come with us, James Sutherland.
On the weekend, I actually spoke to a member of the AFL executives, an old friend of mine. I said, "How are you going up there without your family?" I was, "Without my family, they've all come with me. I wasn't leaving them for 7 weeks." Fair enough. And now
it's all paid for, isn't it, Serge?
Absolutely. And she had to wrap up the phone call because there was drinks on out next to the pool.
Oh, yeah.
They're battling up there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Me-
I
meanwhile,
wonder how their golf
we can't-
handicaps are going.
meanwhile, we can't leave our house after this program without risking a $2,000 fine.